Now, the family of a South African man kidnapped in Libya and held as a hostage now for over 6 years, desperate for his release. In 2017, paramedic Gerco van Deventer had moved from Afghanistan to Libya, hoping for a safer working environment. But ironically, he was kidnapped within days. Let's now speak to the Gift of the Givers, and the organisation is headed by Dr. Imtiaz Sooliman. Of course, we know, Dr. Sooliman, thank you so much. I think that our sound problems are sorted out. You were integrally involved in helping Stephen McGowan be released from being held in Mali. He was held for nearly 6 years. It's understood that Gerco may well also have been traded and be currently in Mali. What can you tell us about the circumstances of his kidnapping and what's happening now?
Good evening, Sally. Hope you can hear me now.
Yes, we can.
Gerco was taken in on 3rd November 2017 in Libya. And he was taken by groups of apparently with 3 other Turkish nationals. They all were working for the same company. And at some point, of course, the Turkish company, whether the company or the family members or whoever, paid for the release of those 3 Turkish individuals. And there was nobody to pay for Gerco. So he was kept in captivity by the Libyan group. Sometime in 2018, we knew that he was moved to Mali. And that was because the intermediaries that we worked with, we remember we've been involved with Stephen McGowan, with Johan Gustafsson, with Christo Botha, Mr. Patel person from Burkina Faso, all 4 cases. And then during that period of time, we were informed by the intermediaries that a South African guy was taken in Libya, has been sold across into the same group that held Stephen, and is now in Mali. So we were not sure of the information, and then when we cross-checked, it confirmed. And we said, look, he was in Mali, it's much easier to deal with because we have no people in Libya that we know, and the groups who work with Mali, we've sort of, well, in inverted commas, a relationship since 2015. I then spoke to Gerco's wife, Gerco van Deventer, and she said, please, can we assist? We made contact with intermediaries the same way that we made contact with for Stephen, and they came back with the usual story. You know, we want so many $1 million. So it was $3 or $4 million at that stage. And we explained to them that this man left his home in South Africa because he doesn't have money. And he went to work in another country, a dangerous country, so he could earn some money to look after his wife and his child. But obviously, groups like that don't understand that kind of language. And we said, yes, that the Turkish company did pay for the 3 Turkish people, but he's not Turkish, and he doesn't belong to that company. And we think those 3 members were part of the company. And so there'll be no money for him. And of course, we said the government is not going to pay. There's no way you're going to get any money. So we negotiated. At some point, we stopped at $500,000 US. Now, we don't pay ransom. We know we try to facilitate things for the family, but obviously we knew there was nobody to pay that kind of money. And at that point, it went cold because there was no way we could get him out. Nobody was going to pay. The family doesn't have the means. The government doesn't get involved. What do we do? Then we got involved with Cyclone Idai, and we got distracted at that point. And then something else happened. A group from Italy called us and said, look, there's an Italian hostage. How do we make contact with the negotiate of the intermediaries? And they said also at some point interested in getting the Colombian nun out. The Colombian nun was held there for many years. So we spoke to them and said, look, if there's some kind of arrangement, we make the contact. Is there any way when you guys are negotiating for the nun and for the Italian guy that we can try to put Gerco into the package? Because there's nobody to pay for him, there's nobody to take him out. So there's a tacit agreement, not in writing, but to say they'll do the best they can. Soon after that, somehow, the guy was speaking to me, got back to me and said, somebody went over his head, made a deal without him, without the other group knowing, and the Italian guy was released, not the Colombian nun. And then, of course, we got involved with COVID. And after that, you can't fly in, you can't fly out, you can't move people, and everything went dead, right up to a few weeks ago. Well, in January this year, well, a few months ago, in January this year, a video was released where Gerco is saying that he's fine, he's okay, he wants to come home, and this is his last opportunity. Can somebody help him? The groups are saying they can't get hold of the government. They won't get hold of the government. The government does not get involved in this kind of matters. And so that video was sent to us through the intermediaries. And of course, it was the same case. There's no means of paying for it. 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago, a French company, a radio station called and said, look, there's a man, Olivier Dubois, that was in captivity for 2 years. And for the last 6 months, he was together with Gerco. And they were both in the desert. He's fine. The French guy was released, probably somebody had paid. But Gerco wants to come home. His teeth are not in good condition. But other than that, he's fine. And he's shot in the one arm. When he was shot, nobody knows. But he's alive, he's well, he wants to come home. And at that point, we said, look, it's exactly the same case as Stephen. When they start putting videos out, it means they want to negotiate, they want to close up the story, and they want the hostage to come home. But of course, they want money. And then I spoke to Shireen and said, look, we'll try one more time. It's the month of Ramadan, and generally, the guys are supposed to be softer in this month. And I spoke to my negotiator. Actually, he landed in Mali yesterday. Yesterday morning, he landed in Mali. We've made 2 videos, one by Shireen and one by her son. Those videos have already been sent across to the intermediaries. We're hoping they'll get to the captors at some point, and my negotiators, they're on the ground now to see what can be done. Obviously, this has to be a negotiation where there's no financial transaction because there's no money to pay. We're not sure it's going to pan out, but we're busy with that right now.
This is amazing, and you've explained so well the whole timeline of what has been happening since Gerco was taken hostage. So you've got a negotiator there. This is probably his best shot at getting out. Why does our government not get involved?
It's not only our government. It's all governments that say they don't deal with terrorists. No, but the intermediaries have told us, they all say that, but under the table, the governments do get involved. It's not something you can do overtly. It's understood. Because even when we were dealing in Yemen with them, and then in Yemen, remember, we were face-to-face with Al-Qaeda. Adas al-Hamati met them face-to-face. And we got Yolanda Koki out within 5 days. We didn't pay any money at that point because they thought they got a trump card. They're holding Pierre, and they asked more money for Pierre. Obviously, we negotiated through that burden too. But in the process, they told us, all governments say they don't negotiate with terrorists. All governments say, they don't pay. But they asked us, how do you think the hostages come out? They said the governments pay, and they pay big money, especially if it's a European or a Western hostage. So, they all pay us, and nothing's for free. So when they gave us Yolandi, it was with the hope they would get something, but for Pierre. But unfortunately, Pierre passed on the 6th of December, 2014. So governments are not keen to get involved. They did, however, get involved in Stephen's case. Because once we did the negotiations, the captors came back to us through the negotiators and through the intermediaries and said, now your job is over. This is beyond you. At this point, the South African government, the Mali government, the state security from both countries have to get involved, and we do the rest. And of course, they got involved, and whatever happened after that, we don't know behind closed doors. Sure. But Stephen was released around July 2017. In this case, Yahya is on the ground. He's a person of Mali origin, a Tuareg. He lives in South Africa. He knows the terrain. He's been there. He's spoken to the people before, the intermediaries. And we thought it's the last shot. And being Ramadan, I asked him, what's the chances of us getting somebody out but no money? He said, look, it has happened before, very, very rarely. There is few challenges, positives and negatives. One is they didn't take Gerco directly and just capture him from a car. They bought him from somebody. Now, when that happens, that complicates the picture because this is a commodity. This has got nothing to do with religion. This is a business deal. They want the investment. So if they paid $1 million or $2 million, they want that initial investment back. That complicates the matter. The thing that may work in his favor is that he's already here for 5 years and 4 months. By that time, by 6 years, they realize, you know what, nobody's coming for this hostage. They may really not have any money. They may look for somebody that can talk to them, but the hope they will get something, in inverted commas. But if they don't get, there's an off chance, the 1 in 100 chance, they may release him because they now realize that after 5 years and 4 months, there's nobody to take him out. But while saying that, they're holding Dr. Ken Elliott, an Australian citizen whose family has made it very, very clear, and they're holding him before they took Gerco. They made it very clear, the family made it very clear, we will not negotiate, we will not pay, we will not get involved. So Dr. Ken Elliott is also stuck there. And I'm hoping by some miracle, some softness comes into the heart, and they say both Ken and Gerco can go with no payment.
Well, let's hope that that moment of mercy does occur and that your negotiator is able to extract Gerco van Deventer, who has been held for so many years now, his poor family, so desperate. Thank you very much for the work you do and for updating us on the story. Please do stay in touch with us as soon as you get any more news. And thank you for speaking to us this evening. Dr. Imtiaz Sooliman, Director and Founder of the humanitarian organisation Gift of the Givers. Now, still